Hello and welcome to the Nick Symmonds Show. This is episode 3. Whether you're listening on a podcast or whether you're watching the video version of this show on YouTube, I want to welcome everybody. And we have some incredible callers today. You guys, on my Mondays, I like to call this the Monday monologue. In the last 2 weeks, we talked about goal setting and goal achieving, how to build a path from the goals that we set and ultimately achieve them. And today, when you're achieving big goals, you're going to have haters. So today we're talking about dealing with the haters. And I actually, in this episode, read some of the mean things that are written about me on a message board on a website called letsrun.com, where there are a bunch of anonymous cowards that like to weigh in on what other people are doing. It's a fun one. I'm laughing at myself a little bit as I know what we're about to read here. But anyways, I appreciate you guys, when you're calling in with your questions. Today we had 6 callers. And we jumped into a lot of incredible different topics like how to build confidence as an athlete, how to properly pace mid-distance racing. And I even weigh in on a couple of the YouTube videos that we made, how we made them, how we come up with our ideas, and my absolute favorite video that we've made to date. So it's all in this episode and more. Let's get going. All right, you guys, today we are talking about the haters. All right, when you're setting big goals, when you're doing awesome things, there will be haters. The last 2 episodes, we've been talking about goal setting, and I'm trying to help you guys achieve your big, audacious goals. And as you're on that path, as you're getting closer and closer to your goals, that's when the haters start popping up, when you start having success. And I've dealt with it pretty much every step of my way, whether it was in high school, college, or especially as a pro. There are all these naysayers that want to drag you down with them. And it's an incredibly challenging thing to deal with when you first start getting these detractors. And I want to talk about how I've dealt with it in the past and how you can shrug off that hate and continue to kick ass. So today I thought it would be kind of funny if we went into this website. It's called letsrun.com. For those of you who have never been to this website, they do a phenomenal job of aggregating running-related news from around the world. And I think as a news site, they're actually pretty good, but they have this toxic cesspool dumpster fire in the back called the message boards. It's just like every other message board on every part of the internet, where it starts off somewhat cerebral and intellectual, and then it just dives straight into racist banter, misogyny, you name it, it's there. We could literally create an entire episode of just reading some of these hilarious threads. But today I wanted to focus on one that specifically kind of targets one of the goals I set for myself earlier this year. Now, my big fitness goal for 2021 was to deadlift, still is to deadlift 500 pounds and go straight into a sub 5-minute mile. It's something that combines 2 of my favorite passions, lifting and running. But in order to do something like this, I've got to make some major changes. And predominantly that meant bulking up. I've put on about 15 pounds, maybe only 10 pounds this year. Obviously, as I'm making these videos, people are surprised maybe that I've put on this much weight. So the title of this thread, started by some user named Jammin, Tubby Nick Symmonds runs a quite impressive workout of 6x200 at 26 to 27 pace. First of all, I guess my sister would call this a compulsalt. It is an insult disguised with a tiny bit of complimentary mention in there. He says a quite impressive workout, so I'm supposed to feel good about that, or he's mitigating his insult by calling me Tubby. Now, for those of you not watching the video version of this, I am 37 years old. I weigh at this moment about 184 pounds. And I don't think very many people would call me Tubby. I don't consider myself Tubby. I work out twice a day, almost every single day. Anyways, but it's beyond the purpose of this video. But he goes on to say he's deceptively fast, looks to be waddling along at a much slower pace. If you look at the shots around 313 to 320, for instance, this is something I've got through my entire freaking career, that I was too short, that I was too bulky, that I waddled when I ran, that I was too white. I got that a few times. That I was too this, too that I'll never be able. And then started back in high school, you guys, when I started having success on the track. They said, well, he's good for Idaho, but he'll never make it in college. And then I won 7 NCAA titles. Well, he's good at the D3 level, but he'll never be able to beat the D1 kids. I beat every single person in America except for one professional my senior year. He's good at the professional level, but he'll never make an Olympic team. And we all know where that story went. Every single time you level up, there are going to be people trying to drag you back down. You have to ignore those people. This thread then goes on to go in a lot of different directions, but here's another one of these classic comp assaults from somebody goes by the name Willamette. Has there been a more ungainly looking world-class distance runner than Nick Symmonds? That's not a knock. No, that is a knock. You just called me ungainly. Hats off to the guy. He may have gotten more out of his innate ability than any other runner I can think of. That said, even in his prime, he looks so unsmooth. There's another one. He's not smooth enough. But I actually will take one nugget from this that I think is a really good lesson. He may have gotten more out of his innate ability than any other runner I can think of. Is there anything that we can ask of ourselves than to get the most out of what we were born with? I always say, we are all born with a deck of cards or a hand of cards, right? Some of us are born with 2 7-off suit. Some of us are born with a royal flush. I mean, if you're David Rudisha, the world record holder in the 800, you were born with the royal flush. Someone once asked me if I could create from the ball of clay the perfect 800-meter runner, who would he be? I said, well, he'd be 6'2", of East African descent, raised at altitude. Oh, and if you could make him a Maasai warrior while you're at it, that would be great. Well, there's David Rudisha for you. So, I wasn't dealt that genetic hand, but I was dealt a pretty good hand. I was dealt, full house, but I played that hand better than anyone. And I think that's all we can really ask is, what hand were we dealt? Now play the hell out of those cards. Even if you were born with a 2 7-off suit, I want you guys to be the best damn player of that 2 7-off suit that you can. Now, there are some funny ones here. Just telling you, says, he looks like a running meatball. Should need 50 to 60 miles per week to shave off some pounds. A running meatball. Okay, that's fine.
This is Nick Symmonds from Eugene, Oregon. Listen to the crowd. Front, and here comes Symmonds in Oregon. 1, 2, 7.
I just, when I was young, when I was, a high school athlete or a college athlete, something like that would have really, really hurt me. And I remember as a pro, especially in my early part of my career, I couldn't read message boards like this because developing a confidence, especially for a young athlete, especially in running, having that swagger, that confidence is absolutely critical to running your best. You have to step on the track and trust in your body, trust that you did the work, and trust that you can go out there and kick ass. And when you read something like that, just that word meatball can sit in the back of your mind and make it difficult for you to have the confidence you need to have to make moves. Furthermore, it looks like a running meatball. Well, that's exactly what I should be looking like right now. I'm 185 pounds, trying to get up to 200 pounds so I can deadlift 500. Again, when you're trying to achieve big things, there will be detractors. James the Amateur says here, and continuing in the thread, I fully agree. I think Nick is one of the very few to absolutely hit his genetic limit. There's no way someone built like him should have been sub 143, especially with his bizarre form. So now it's my bizarre form. This is why I have adopted the name the Bison. There was a Sports Illustrated reporter that actually said, if David Rudisha is a gazelle gliding along, then Nick Symmonds is the American bison running unfathomably fast, just lumbering through the plains. And bison are extremely fast creatures. But they don't look like they should be able to run that fast. So again, if I had let all of these things about my form, about my size, about my body type, about my skin color, if I'd let all of these people who are constantly critiquing me weigh me down, then I never would have had a chance to rise up and prove what I was ultimately capable of. So I'm grateful to have had people along the way that built me up while others were trying to tear me down. And the last one of this thread, the thread closes out by "do what your coaches say." That's the username here. Wow, his voice is grating to hear, and he's a pro YouTuber. The man overcomes his weaknesses. I have to hand it to him. Thanks again for another comp assault. And I do overcome my weaknesses, and that's all we can ask of ourselves is to rise up and, again, using that poker analogy, play the hand that we're dealt to the best of our abilities. Now, I have 3 takeaways here that I really want to jump into because I think as funny as all this is, these can be really hurtful for some people. Again, I'm 37. It's water off a duck's back to me. But if you're young and if you're seeing things on social media about you, or seeing things on message boards, or hearing things behind your back, I want to give you 3 takeaways to just let that, again, roll off your back. Number 1, when you have haters, you know you're doing something right. It's a famous quote. And I remember reading that when I was younger, and it really put my fears at ease. Yeah, there's a reason you have haters. These people are jealous, all right? If somebody goes online and they are critiquing you in this way, they're jealous. And that's where this is coming from. It's coming from a place of jealousy. Number 2, there will be critics. And I want to, weigh in on this. I think a lot of times we say, oh, it's inappropriate to talk about an athlete's body type. No, it's not. It's absolutely appropriate to talk about an athlete's body type. They're athletes. They use their body in their work. Whether it's male or female, I'm sorry, if you sign up to be a pro athlete, people are going to talk about your body. I recognized that when I was running pro. And I, as much as I didn't like being called a meatball or didn't like being called tubby, I didn't think it was inappropriate for people to talk about my body type. I thought it was chicken shit if they didn't use their real name. And I maintain that. If I post anything online, it's posted as Nick Symmonds. I don't go on and post anonymously like a coward, because that's exactly what that is. It's cowardly. So pros and public figures are asking for criticism, and they've got to be okay with that. As you rise up, as you continue to kick ass in whatever field you choose, whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, whether it's in life, recognize that your success is drawing attention, and whether you like it or not, that's part of being a successful person. You got to be okay with it. But that leads me into number 3. Not everyone's opinion matters. I'm going to say that again because it's a really hard one for some people. Not everyone's opinion matters. When I was running professionally, I had about 5 people, maybe 10 people in my life whose opinion was extremely important to me. My mom and dad, my sister. When I started dating my wife, Tiana, her opinion mattered a ton to me. Her parents mattered. As an athlete, I really only listened to about 3 or 4 people: my coach, my strength trainer, Coach Sam, and my sports psychologist. So if I had a bad race or if I had a great race, I really only listened to those 4 people who were chirping in my ear, because their opinion were the only ones that mattered. Not the anonymous cowards on the message boards, not social media people, fans, or detractors. There are areas of our life where some people's opinion, they just don't matter, and you got to ignore those people. I kind of left myself some notes here, especially the anonymous cowards. These people online, again, I think they should, if they take some pleasure in trying to drag other people down, more power to you, I guess. But their opinion doesn't matter to me. All right, so in closing, as you continue along your path to greatness, ignore the people that are trying to drag you down. They're sad, they're unhappy, they want to bring you down with them. Be the kind of person that surrounds yourself with people who will lift you up. And when you hit success, all those haters, be the kind of person that inspires those haters to stop hating on people and start achieving their own goals. That's what I'm trying to do here with the Nick Symmonds Show, is try to help you guys achieve your goals. Whether you value my opinion or not, you are welcome to it. On this show, we are going to take some live callers, and they can ask me anything. I always say, ask me anything. Nothing's off limits. Let's get to the first caller.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
That's nice.
Yeah. You got a question for me?
Well, actually, this is great because tomorrow's my first race for the track season.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm the only frosh off, so I'm all by myself against all these teams.
You're the only what?
My partner. I'm the only frosh off on the team.
Oh, okay.
For this race.
Yeah.
So I'm all by myself.
What are you racing?
Yeah. I'm doing mid-distance, so either the mile or 8. And then I'm doing the 400.
Good, man. Crush it. What's your question?
Well, for the mile and the 800, do you have any tips? Because I don't want to go too fast at the beginning, because sometimes I start off slow, but I build up, but everybody seems to be in the front. I'm always in the back.
Well, given that this is your first race, I would say first it's a rust buster, so you're not going to totally know what kind of pace you want to run. So I'd encourage you to just get in there and mix it up and not put too much pressure on yourself. Just, we call it a rust buster. You're just going to go out there and bust that rust off those legs. Now, as you begin to go through the season and get more familiar with your body and what kind of shape you're in, you're going to be able to select targeted paces. So if you're trying to run the 8, you really want to dial in that pace and try to have a plus 2 second differential. So let's say you're trying to run 2 flat just for round even numbers. I really believe in a positive 2 second differential when you're time trialing 800. So you might go out in 58 and come back in 60. That would be, with the tenths of a second, that would be a sub 2 minute 800. Now the mile I run way different. Some people like to positive split the mile. I like to run my miles dead even. So let's say you want to run a 5-minute mile. You go 75 seconds for the first lap, 75 seconds for the second lap, same for the third, same for the fourth. Now that's time trialing, right? That's when you're out there and you're by yourself and you're just running within yourself. You're racing the clock. But I really believe that, track and field especially is about racing. Running is about racing. I want you to get in there. I want you to look at the people around you, and I want you to be competitive. And ideally, I want you to put time out the window, especially on this first one. And just go and be competitive and listen to your body. As the season progresses, you can get more and more focused with time, especially if you need to qualify for certain championships. But really, first things first, focused on competition. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. And then also too, for pacing, do you have any tips? Because I struggle with pacing.
One of the best. How old are you, Joseph?
16.
Yeah, you're still very young. Pacing is a skill that is learned through miles and miles of training and racing. As you're in training, and your coach gives you a pace to hit, that's not a challenge to see if you can go faster than that. It's a challenge to see if you can hit that pace exactly. So in practice, if your coach gives you a pace, I want you to challenge yourself to hit it to the second. That's what makes a great pacer. And as you do that more and more, as you get in the race, it will be more and more natural. Now, one thing that you can do in races is, have somebody at the 200-meter mark calling out splits. Have somebody at the 400-meter mark calling out splits. That way you're listening and you're hearing how your body's feeling. You're also hearing those laps, and you're combining that knowledge together. When we were in high school, I don't know how many training partners you have, but I'd love the older runners to tell me what pace they're going to run so I can kind of key off them. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because if they actually run the pace, it's very helpful. But if they can't hit pace, then it doesn't do you any good. So I think probably the number one way that you can learn to run pace is in practice and rely on yourself. But there are other ways. As pros, a lot of times we used rabbits, where the rabbit was paid to actually run a certain pace, and we could key off that.
Yeah, during practice, I kind of run by myself while everybody has their own group. It's kind of hard.
Absolutely.
For the pacing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Learn to rely on yourself, because they say, running is a lonely sport. You're going to be out there by yourself. It's an individual sport frequently, and you have to learn to rely on yourself. The better you can get at pacing, that puts you at a huge advantage over your competitors who maybe aren't as good at pacing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Joseph, get out there and kick some butt.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. Bradley, what's going on?
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Great. Nice area.
Yeah, I like it here.
You got a question for me?
Yeah. Which career of yours would you say has been more fulfilling, your YouTube career or your professional running career?
Dang, Bradley got the hard-hitting question on a Tuesday morning. I like that, Bradley. Which career has been more fulfilling, running or YouTubing? Gosh, what's so funny is I kind of put them both on these pedestals, because they're both things that I would do absolutely free, but somehow I found a way to get paid to do them, and I think I always call it the holy grail of life. If you can find something to do each day that you would do absolutely free and get paid for it, like that's just amazing. And so I would say that, the running career for me, it came full circle, right? I always said when I got into running, I want to see how good I can be. I really want to see just how good I can be if I go all in on something. And I was one of the few people that got the opportunity to do that. So having gone full circle from never having competed a day in my life to 2 Olympic teams, and then all the way to the back end of that curve where I started to see my times, get slower and slower and slower. I really feel like I got everything out of my body, and I got that wonderful opportunity to see just how good I could be. So right now I would say it's more fulfilling, at 37, because I feel like I'm just starting my YouTubing career. Maybe one day I'll look back and the YouTubing will be more fulfilling in that I was able to connect with more people or try different things or I don't know. I absolutely love YouTubing, but I feel like I'm just getting started there. So from an intrinsic standpoint, having fulfilled the promise that I made to my young self to finish strong, to finish and see how good I could be, I actually absolutely did that, running 20 years competitively. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, and that's amazing.
Any follow-up questions, man? I mean, what are you into? You into running? You into YouTubing or both?
Running, yep.
Yeah. What's your event?
Yeah. Well, I'm a freshman right now, so I'm still trying to figure out what I'm best at.
Yeah.
But I've done cross country. I've been pretty good at that.
It's great.
I got 18:04 as my PR. Then I got hurt, so now I'm back in like mid-19s.
Yep.
And now I'm doing track, and I want to see if I'm better at, say, the mile, the 2 mile, the 800. I'm excited to try an 800.
It's a great attitude. Bradley, I'm going to tell you something that I tell a lot of young runners. I didn't even start running track until I was a sophomore in high school, so you're well ahead of me there. And I'm so proud of your attitude that you're going to try a little bit of everything because you just never know what you're going to be great at. I started out as a 5K runner myself. And when I got to the track, I told the coach, hey, I'm a distance runner. I only run the 2 mile. Of course, I ended up being a mid-distance specialist. So I want you to go out there, and all our listeners, if you're young and in track and field or in any avenue of life, when you're young, try everything because I promise you, every single one of you was born to be great at least one thing. Your challenge in life is to go out and find out what that thing is. Some of us are going to be, some of you, Bradley, you might be fantastic at 800-meter running and you may be fantastic at chemistry or history or something else, but you got to try a little bit of everything on and off the track to find out what you were born to be best at.
Right.
Sound good, man?
I agree with that.
All
Yeah.
right, get out there and kick some butt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bradley. What's up, Gabriel?
Hello, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Where are you calling from, man?
New Jersey.
Nice. How's it out in Jersey today?
It's actually pretty good today. Yeah, I have a race later.
Today?
Yeah, I have to leave in like 10 minutes actually.
All right, we'll keep it quick. What's your race?
So 2 weeks from this Saturday, the championship season starts, and it starts all the way from like our county all the way up until like state finals and nationals. And
Right.
that's until the end of June.
Okay.
So how would you approach that? Like trying to like peak and hit good times towards all your races when 1 week after another, there's another championship race?
Dang, that's such a good question. So a lot of what we're talking about right now is periodization. And, if you guys have read my book, How to Be a Better Runner, I have an entire chapter just on periodization. I think it's the first chapter because it is the most important thing that you can learn. And so Gabriel's right now, he's talking about tapering. So you have your first championship race 2 weeks from today?
2 weeks from Saturday.
2 weeks from Saturday. So that's early May, and it can go
2 weeks from Thursday. 2 weeks from Thursday.
And it can go all the way into June?
Yeah, from the city level all the way to the nationals.
Like if you're a marathoner, right, and you have one race and you just are training your butt off for 9 months and then you're tapering into that race, it's really easy to schedule that taper. It's a lot harder, as Gabriel's talking about, when you have multiple qualifying rounds. A good example of this is when, you're at the NCAA level and you may have to run conference, and then you have to run regionals, and then you have to run nationals, and then there may be other nationals on top of that nationals, and you're like, well, how do I even peak for this? This is how I would approach it. I'm a pragmatist. I know what I'm capable of. When I was, at the very peak of my career, I knew that the U.S. championships were going to be in June, but the Olympics or the World Championships weren't going to be until August. Right? And you can't maintain a peak for that long. So I would actually knowingly try to train through U.S. championships. I would knowingly take maybe a micro taper, just a little freshening of the legs going into those championships. But I was not 100% fresh and ready to go and fully peaked for that meet. So as you're going through your own taper and your own process as you're preparing yourself, if you know you need to be 100% sharp to get through those first qualifiers, then that's what you got to do. And then you just got to hang on for dear life. Conversely, if you are the class of the state, if you know like, hey, I can kind of like just train through these first few meets and really save my taper for the state championship or whatever the ultimate championship is, it's okay to do that. It's okay. We called it making the team on our B game. right? That's how Coach Rowland and I would phrase that. We said, we are going to make this world championship team on our B game, and we may not win the U.S. title. In fact, in 2013, when I was, preparing for that world championship season, my coach, Coach Rowland, said, Nick, you're probably going to lose the U.S. title, which really bothered me because at that time I was a 5-time defending U.S. champion. I did not want to break my streak. He said, you're probably going to lose U.S. championships this year, but I will peak you for the world championships in Moscow in late August, and you will finally win that medal that you've always wanted. And that's the season that I did win my world medal. So as you're preparing, talk with your coach, talk with the people you trust, and really try to figure out where that sweet spot is for you. If it's you have to be on your game for these qualifiers, or whether you can kind of train through those and be on your game for the state championship. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Thank you.
Good, man. And I'll talk about hanging on for dear life a little bit, but there are examples of this. Clayton Murphy in 2016 is a great example where he peaked at the NCAAs, and then he peaked again at the trials, and then he peaked again at the games. And when you kids are young, man, you guys can do some freaky things as you're getting stronger and stronger each day. So don't be afraid to go out there and just kick ass every single weekend.
All right.
Thanks, Gabriel. Good luck today.
Thanks.
Bye. India, can you hear me?
Yes. Wow. It's an honor to be talking to you, Nick.
Likewise. How you
My
doing?
name is India, obviously. I was in a Model UN meeting, and my country was India, and I guess I haven't changed.
Talking to the whole country right now. What's your name?
My name's Jake.
Jake, not from India.
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from Colorado.
Nice. What part of Colorado?
Highlands Ranch. It's about 20 or so miles outside of Denver.
Yeah, you got a little elevation there.
Yep, it's good training.
Good, man. Well, what's your question?
Well, I actually have I have two questions actually. My first question is, I just made the decision to not do spring baseball. I played baseball all my life, but I decided to do track instead. I'm willing to just do whatever it takes to be the best I can be at track. What advice would you give me to just improve my times, improve my performance?
Man, that's a great question. So, I think every athlete, multi-sport athlete, has to make that decision at some point, right? I was the same way. I played soccer and did cross country and track and ice hockey. And there came a time where you just can't play every single sport. You have to ultimately kind of go all in on one. And I think that track and field's a great one, especially if you combine it with cross country. But how old are you?
I'm 14.
14. You're still so young. So I would encourage you right now to have as much fun as possible. But as you get older, 15, 16, 17, as you start to think about maybe running in college, when I started running year round, it changed my life as a runner completely. And I didn't start doing that until I was 18, 19 years old. But when you can start training year round, you stop taking this kind of 2-step forward, 1-step back approach. Like in high school, I didn't run in the summers, I didn't run in the winters. So I'd get really fit in cross country and then lose a lot of that fitness throughout the winter. And then I'd get really fit in track and lose a lot of that fitness through the summer. So once I started training year round, and by year round I mean, 48 to 50 weeks out of the year, because you do need to take breaks occasionally. But you're really just continuing to get better and better and better rather than having that kind of start-stop. So as you continue to go invest more of yourself in this sport, as you continue to train closer and closer to year round, I think you're going to really start to see massive, massive improvements. Are you running cross country?
Yes, my team is just great. The coach, and you might have heard of them. Mountain Vista High School. They ran
great program
quite a few years.
Yeah.
But my other question is, you've had an amazing career, obviously, as a runner.
Thank you.
But what was one thing you wish you could go back and change? What was one regret?
Well, I know you want me to talk about running specifically, but I always say my biggest regret from my running career is that I didn't start a YouTube channel earlier, because I love YouTubing so much. And so I'm going to answer this honestly. I wouldn't have changed anything about my running career. I really believe I did it the best way that I possibly could. But as I talk about my career in general, I really wish I'd started a YouTube channel back in like 2008 or 2009 when I was on my way up and training professionally. There's so many great workouts that could have helped so many people if I had filmed those and talked about how I was executing them, especially in the lead up to 2012. I did publish my 2012 training log, which you guys can get at nicksymmonds.com, but that doesn't capture the moment, you know, the progression of a season. I wish I had been vlogging those workouts for people, and those workouts would have stayed, you know, in the cloud on YouTube forever, so we could still go back and learn from those. So I'm trying to continue to give away the knowledge that I picked up over 20 years of competitive running, but YouTube is such a powerful platform. I just wish I had started earlier.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a book I read during Mo Farah's career. It was about his life, and I think books are another great way. I would love for you to write a book just about your entire career. And I know you've written that one.
Yeah. You know, I've got a few. If you guys want to check out some of my books, they're available at nicksymmonds.com. Hand autographed copies, actually. And I don't know if you've seen, I do have a actually published book out there called Life Outside the Oval Office that covers the majority, at least the first, you know, 15 years of my career. So you might check that out. That has a lot of like behind the scenes information on it as well. I think you can get that on Amazon. It's called Life Outside the Oval Office.
That's awesome. I have one last random question.
Yeah, hit me. It's ask me anything. You guys can ask me anything.
It's been a constant just debate on my running team, and it's completely random. But who do you think would win in an 800-meter race? Usain Bolt or Eliud Kipchoge?
Dang, that is a really good question. In their prime or where they're at today?
In their prime.
You know, I'm going to say Kipchoge because he has a phenomenal mile personal best. Like, so in his mile, even when he was running his marathon, I think he could still throw down a phenomenal mid-distance performance. Whereas, you know, Usain Bolt, I mean, he didn't even run the 400 there towards the end of his career much. So I think he would have really struggled with the 8. I'm going to go with Kipchoge on this one. I believe in speed from strength.
All right.
All right. Thanks, India.
Thanks so much for talking and taking questions.
My pleasure. That kid's great. India in the house. What's up?
How you doing?
Good. What's that sweatshirt say? Desert Oasis?
Desert Oasis, track and field.
Very cool. Where's that at?
It's Las Vegas.
Nice. Is that where you live?
I used to. I just moved to San Jose like 2
Nice.
years ago.
Cool. It's Hayden?
Yeah.
Hayden, man, from San Jose. What are you doing down in San Jose?
I'm running track, doing school here.
At university?
College in Idaho.
What's that?
I'm gonna end up doing college in Idaho.
Oh, good. Where at?
BYU, Idaho.
Very cool. Rexburg.
Yeah.
I know it well.
Yeah, you grew up in Idaho, right?
Boise, Idaho. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, man. All right, you can ask me anything. Nothing's off limits, Hayden. What's going on?
Okay, so I wrote down some stuff here.
Okay.
I think my number one question is, how do you get like the ideas for your videos usually?
What a freaking awesome question. How do I get my ideas for my videos? Well, Ryan's over here laughing because I'm always throwing ideas at my videographer, you know, Ryan, and he actually helps out with creative a lot. But in my office, I have this giant whiteboard, right? A 4x8 foot whiteboard. And anytime I get an idea, I just write it up there. And sometimes the ideas are good. Sometimes they're bad. Sometimes they just need a little bit of tweaking. But a lot of the times, you know, I kind of just, you know, brain vomit all of his ideas, and then I run them by Ryan, because Ryan's the one, he's the magician that ultimately has to turn these videos from the idea in my head to, you know, a finished product. And sometimes we'll look at them together and we'll kind of take them in a tangent, or we'll come back. But, you know, some of our more out there ideas have just kind of come from sitting down and chatting through them. You know, right now we're in the middle of a series called the Nick Symmonds Track Classic, and that kind of writes itself, right? Like, we're going to have 8 events over 8 weeks. And we've done this formula over and over and over again. So it's more just picking the events that we want to host. But yeah, when we come up with the viral ideas, like Race Me for $100, that was me and a buddy, AJ Lepre, who has 750,000 subscribers now, just kind of like riffing on what's working on his channel and what might be what could work on mine. He was doing a series called Dunk on Me, win $100. And he's like, dude, you should just go challenge people to a race in the park. And then if they beat you, give them $100. So we did that, and to this date, that's the largest, most viewed videos we've ever done. So it's kind of a combination. I wish I could take all the credit for it, but I can't.
No, it's still cool.
Do you YouTube?
What?
Do you create YouTube videos?
I would like to. I've been taking filming and editing classes
Very
for
cool.
the past 3 years, and
Yeah.
so I know all about editing and stuff. And stuff Ryan does.
Yeah,
I've been
he's
like
good.
watching a lot of the things. His editing's gotten a lot better. Like over the
Over the
years.
last year, he has stepped up his game so much. I think a lot of it also is just we give him more time. Like we were demanding a lot of his time from YouTube, but then also from Run Gum, my business Run Gum. And in the last few months, we've kind of freed him up from the Run Gum side of things so that he can really put all his time into these videos. And you're seeing it now, especially last week's video, the 400 meter. I mean, it's just he got so many compliments on how good his editing has become.
Let him know that I think his transitions are great.
Hayden, he likes your transitions. He's sitting right over here watching. Hayden, once you get out of college, you come work for us, man. We're going to need a whole stable of videographers.
Man. Definitely.
Any other questions?
Let's see. So what was your favorite video to film?
Wow, that's a great question. My favorite video to film. Okay, so did you ever see the time I took my Nike Vaporflies and I put them in a weather balloon and I sent them up to space? Like that was the craziest video we had done to that point. I had been like planning like the logistics of that video for months, doing my calculations, trying to learn how weather balloons work. It cost a ton to do that because helium prices are through the roof. And Ryan and I spent an entire day like doing this video.
Yeah.
When we sent this very expensive payload up into the up into space, we didn't know if we'd ever see it again. And when we finally tracked it down using a GPS, it was kind of beat up and the GoPro, had run out of batteries, and we were like, oh my gosh, like did this thing like spaz out in space and we don't even have the video? Because the whole point of the video was to show that epic shot of the curvature of the Earth, from space. And Ryan and I had hiked in like 2 or 3 miles to retrieve this thing. And we're just totally dead silent hiking out. And I'm holding the SD card and I'm like, please have the shot. Please have the shot. And we didn't even wait to get back to the office. I pulled out my laptop, set it on my tailgate of my truck, plugged in the SD card, and we just waited. And then boom, it flashed on the screen, this shot of the Nikes out in orbit. And I'm running around screaming. I'm like, oh my God, we did it. We did it. And that video has almost 1 million views. So, even if that video had 2 views and it was just me and Ryan watching it, it still would have been the best video. It was so much fun to shoot.
Oh, it's super sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sick. Do you still like have that shoe like on a shelf somewhere or something?
Ryan has them. So I actually, after we beat the crap out of those shoes for like 5 videos, I gave them to Ryan to beat up some more.
It kind of hurt a little bit watching those videos too, where you'd cut them open. I was like, oh.
Well, those are $250 shoes. Like some of these videos, I think that sometimes the audience forgets just like how much money goes into making one of these videos. Each video, whether I'm giving money away or cutting open a new pair of shoes, and then we got to consider Ryan's time and my time. Like each video costs thousands of dollars to make, but it's such a rewarding process. I always say I would do it absolutely free, even if we didn't get paid. But the fact that there is money coming in allows us to make better and better videos.
That's true. That's
the
really
Mr. Beast model, right? He reinvests every single dollar that comes in to make a more epic video.
Yeah. But to be able to do that, you got to get views. And so you have to
have good content. Yeah. At the end of the day, you have to have good content for sure.
Yeah. All right. I have another question.
All right.
So,
hit me with it.
in high school, did you ever think it was like possible for you to make the Olympics and everything? Like, did you even see that as something that was achievable?
All right. Gosh, Hayden's got all the. We could do a whole show just of Hayden's questions, but this is a really good one. So we're gonna end with this one. But I want to say that this cable's bothering me. I want to say that when I was in high school, I didn't get into running because I thought I could become an Olympian. I got into running just because I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed being out in nature. I enjoyed being fit. But I really never, ever thought I'd become an Olympian. I think it shows in the fact that I went to a Division III school, right? Like I went to D3 school where there's no scholarship, where almost no D3 people ever go to the Olympics, because it still wasn't even on my mind. Like I just wanted to go and continue studying and running and having fun. And the D3 program sounded like that was going to be the spot for me to do that. It wasn't until I would say my senior year when I recognized that I was going to leave this little incubator that was college, where I was in my safe space and I had everything paid for because my parents footed the bill, thank goodness. But I was going to have to go out into the real world and I was going to have to earn money. And I said, well, okay, for me to do that, I either need to go get a real job or continue in school. I was studying to be a doctor, or I need to, go all in on this running thing and see if I can actually become a pro runner. I'd won at that point 5 NCAA titles. So I had it in the back of my mind, maybe I could do this professionally. And I went all in. I literally went from being like a straight A student to a straight C student. And in freeing up all that time that I was spending in the library and focusing instead on running and doing doubles every day and eating right and sleeping right, I went from being ranked about 50th in the United States at 800 meters to being ranked number 2. When I finished number 2 in the United States at the U.S. Championships that year, my senior year, right after I graduated, that's the minute where I was like, I will become an Olympian. I was 2 years away from the 2008 Olympic trials, but I was already top 3 in the United States. And they take the top 3 people in each event to the games. So I'm like, even if I don't improve at all, even if I just stay right where I'm at, I can be an Olympian in 2 years. And it worked out. I ended up winning, 2 years later, the 2008 Olympic trials. So to answer your question, it really didn't hit me upside the head until my senior year of college that I could do it.
That's pretty sweet.
And you don't have to have that vision from the age of 8 years old or from the age of 14 years old. You just have to commit to getting a little bit better each and every day. And you add up, 365 days and then another 365 days. And all of a sudden you wake up 10 years later and you're like, dang, I got really, really good at this. It's just a process.
Yeah. And it's super sick too. I mean, you ended up running like the fastest race, like the fastest 800-meter race all time. That's like,
I think that the claim to fame is I'm the fastest 5th place finish ever in an 800-meter race. So I'm like, 142.9 only gets you 5th place in this race.
What,
okay.
though? You were in the back and then you made your way and got all the way into 5th. Like that was crazy to watch.
I just needed everybody else to die more and they didn't. So, all right, Hayden, great questions, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. All right. See you later, man.
Bye. All right. If you guys are listening and you have zoomed into one of these and didn't get selected, keep trying because we take 5 to 10 guests every single week. But if you want to book some time with me, you can actually do that via the Cameo app. We do Cameo calls once a week and you can just come and book some time and would chat just like we are right now. But let's get back to this. What do we have? 10 more minutes or so? Let's bring in 1 or 2 more guests. What's up, Tara? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Hayden?
I'm good. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Long Island, New York.
Oh, nice. How's New York right now?
Yeah. It's actually beautiful out. Beautiful day.
We need to go make some YouTube videos out in New York. Everyone's been asking me to come out, and just the last year's been crazy, right? With everything shut down. So this summer, if the world's looking, back to normal, I think we got to come out to New York and make some videos.
Yeah, that'd be so awesome. Yeah, I'd love to go to like Oregon, but I'm in college right now, so it's not like super easy.
Where are you going to college?
I go to Stony Brook University. I don't know if it is. It's like a SUNY school.
Yeah. We used to race out at the SUNY schools all the time.
Oh, really?
Is it D3?
It's D1.
A lot of the SUNY schools are D3, or at least the ones we raced at.
Oh no, a lot of now like there are a lot are D1.
Good.
I'd say.
Yeah. Are you running for them?
I am, yeah.
Fantastic.
I actually have a race this week.
Woo! What race?
We're having like a little home meet before conference, but I'm running the 1500.
Love it. Great event. Is it Tara or Tara?
Tara.
Tara. I don't want to mess that up. Tara, you can ask me anything, and I always say nothing's off limits. You can ask me anything. What would you ask me?
Okay. So I do have a question, I guess. Like, like being like a pro runner and everything like that. Like I'm sure like probably like a couple of times into like races, like, maybe your confidence wasn't like as high and that, as a result, maybe you didn't perform as well as you want to. Like, how do you like get around that? Like getting out of that rut, that race rut.
It's a fantastic question. We were actually talking earlier about just how important confidence is for a runner, right? Standing on that line, trusting in yourself, trusting in your training. I think that it comes from within, right? You need to stand on that line and know that you've done the work. And I really always say this. Give your future self the gift of preparedness, the gift of confidence. That confidence that you aspire to have on that line, a lot of that comes from the monotonous day in and day out training that you're doing. When you're in the middle of the summer, the middle of winter, and you're like, I'm not racing for another 3 or 4 months, it can be easy to like kind of phone a workout in or skip a run here or there. That's going to erode your confidence when the time comes. Now, from a coaching standpoint or a sports psychologist standpoint, having a workout that you just absolutely crush can give you a ton of confidence. And there were times during my pro career where maybe I was having a string of bad workouts and I was feeling bad about myself and my fitness and where I was at. And, you know, Coach Rowland and all his wisdom would kind of give me a workout that he would say, this is a really tough workout. You know, you're going to struggle through this one a little bit. And of course, it was a softball that I would just knock out of the park. But it was a good psychological play where I would be like, holy cow, like I maybe am a little bit fitter than I thought I was, you know, just crushing the times that he had prescribed for me. So I think a lot of it comes from a coach. I think there are some aspects of sports psychology that you can use. You know, visualizing yourself having a good race is a great start towards having a good race. But I really believe that the majority of the confidence is going to come from the hard work that you put in.
Yeah.
Any follow-up questions or any other questions along those lines?
No, I guess not. I was just wondering, you know, because I feel like I've been like a 1500 rep, but I ran an amazing 3K like 2 weeks ago.
There you go. Take confidence from that. See, that's the thing. Yeah. Take confidence from that. Right now, we're early in the season right now. You should be kicking butt at the 3K because you're not tapered yet. You're not sharp. So as you begin to do more race-specific intervals for the 1500, you're going to get better and better at the 1500. And then even later in the season, you may find that you can crank a great 800 because you're so freaking sharp. So let's not beat ourselves up early season. Let's trust the process and let's save those epic 1500 meter intervals and epic 1500 meter races for later on when it really counts.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Get out there and crush that 1500, but it's still early in the year, so don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go just as planned.
Yeah, hold on. One last quick question.
Yeah, of course.
Can I like screenshot?
Yeah, absolutely.
I will just tell my friend because she.
You know, this is a feature. I do Cameo calls sometimes. You heard of Cameo?
Yeah,
and they added this feature where you can like take a picture and like share it. But anyways, this is even better. We'll do it via Zoom.
Thanks. Okay, I did it.
You got it?
Thanks so much, Nick.
Hey, thanks.
So nice talking to you.
Thanks for the call. Good luck with your career.
Thanks.
Bye, Tara.
Awesome. Bye.
All right, that's a wrap on episode 3 of the Nick Symmonds Show. Big shout out to all of our callers. If you want to appear on the Nick Symmonds Show, if you want to call in and ask me anything, I send a text blast out before every recording. All you got to do is text me at the number 208-231-3335. One more time, that's 208-231-3335. Text me at that number, and you will sign up for the text blast, and I'll let you know every single time we record one of these. I appreciate you guys. See you next week.